So now let's come to employer brand, experience and messaging. And this is in the context of the impact of COVID. I thought Mark Cuban's quote was fantastic. How companies treat workers during a pandemic could define brand for decades. So employer brand messaging, you have to communicate as a company with care. Use transparency and empathy in your messaging. You need to consider and address messaging to all your audiences. Think about your employees. Think about the workers you may have laid off. Think about candidates that applied when your pipeline suddenly went quiet. And think about your customers. Great area here that you can look at is you can see companies running commercial advertising right now about what they're doing for their employees because they recognize that their customers are viewing that as well, and that is the impression that they have on the brand. You need to listen and engage in the conversation about your brand. Social channels, employer reviews, and employee candidate feedback. This is great ways to see what are people saying, what do they care about, what are they asking, and get in that conversation. Create a strategy and update messaging in all areas of the candidate employee journey because there is no returning to normal. Things have changed and you need to make sure everything that you had is updated for what is now. There's a halo effect that exists with employer brand. And to be very direct on this, it is that perception matters. Negative content is seen as aiding knowledge of an employer brand. That can be seen on a consumer side as well. Amazon was getting some bad press about how they were handling COVID and safety concerns with their teams. They put together a plan to address that, and they put that out on commercial advertising to the consumer market because they understand that the perception of how they care for their employees is the perception of their customer as well. So those things are interconnected with employer brand. But there's also that you have to say something 3 times for it to ever soak into anyone. So don't be broadcasting into only one channel to communicate your message. You need to use a multi-channel approach. Because one exposure to content doesn't shift a perception towards a consumer or employer brand. So you need to use multiple channels to be able to convey that message in a way that can be absorbed. Lots of opportunity to, get your message out there and engage in the conversation. Engaging in the conversation is where people are having the conversation. And yes, that can be on social media, but that could also be responding to frequently asked questions on your profiles. You should be updating content based on what people are talking about. So if you're listening, you know what they care about, and then you can make sure that you're proactively addressing that with content. But look at the entire candidate employee journey touch points and look at the messaging that you need to have now. It is not okay to rest your laurels on just having a banner at the top of your career site that says, COVID response. You need to do more than that. What are you saying in your social channels? What are you blogging about? What do you have specific landing pages that speak to the different problems and challenges that the candidates might be or employees might be experiencing? Have you updated your job descriptions? Have your email alerts included any messaging to relate to the current time of the need for crisis messaging? Take a look at all of the touch points that need to be updated based on the current times.